Hi, I'm Scott Van Wagner for Seaway Fluid Power, and in this video what we want to do is look at some of the potential sources for hydraulic fluid contamination. It's been estimated that up to about 75% of all hydraulic system failures can be traced back to contamination of the hydraulic fluid. Hopefully by understanding some of the sources for this contamination you'll be able to keep your hydraulic fluid cleaner and your operation should run smoother. So, first source of contamination for your hydraulic fluid is actually in the production process. There are multiple potential sources for contamination there, including the equipment itself involved in the manufacture, the mixing process for the fluid, and the actual storage of the fluid as well in inventory. Now, hydraulic fluid manufacturers do adhere to a cleanliness code, ISO 4406, but there are no guarantees and accidents do happen. It's unlikely. The second source of hydraulic fluid contamination potentially is at actual transfer, where the hydraulic fluid goes from one container to another. Now this contamination could take place even before the transfer of the fluid. This can be due to poor flushing of the system that the new fluid is going to be going into. Once open to the environment, of course, the hydraulic fluid is susceptible to dust and moisture in the air. The best way to try and avoid and deal with this potential contamination source during transfer is to use filter pumps. The third form of hydraulic fluid contamination is storage. And this can be caused by things like poor seal on the container that the fluid is stored in, or condensation that can occur. Now this can take place even in a sealed drum. Opening and closing, obviously, of the hydraulic fluid container also provides an additional source for contamination. Best way to try to deal with this source of contamination for your hydraulic fluid is to store your fluid in a controlled temperature environment and make sure that you maintain a proper seal on the container that the hydraulic fluid is in. The fourth potential source for hydraulic fluid contamination is your application itself. Now this can happen in a number of different ways. Applications that run at high temperatures produce the potential for contamination. Motor bearings and metal parts can produce metal particulates that get into and contaminate the hydraulic fluid, and poor seals that allow either particulates or moisture, either oil or water based through, can lead to contamination of the system. Also, poor cleaning post-maintenance and repairs is another source of contamination from your application. The best way to deal with this is to do a proper flush of the system involved before the new fluid is introduced into it. The fifth form of hydraulic fluid contamination is actually operational in nature. And this one comes from something called cavitation. Now cavitation is the creation of small bubbles within a liquid. It happens as hydraulic fluid is going through the application. And what happens is these small bubbles actually cause a shock to the metal surfaces of the machinery involved. And this can, over time, cause small little particulates of metal to come loose, and that will actually contaminate the fluid. The sixth and final source of potential contamination for hydraulic fluid is the maintenance process. And this should come as no surprise. It's probably obvious that there are many sources for contamination during maintenance practices. Maybe the best way to deal with this is actually to talk about some of the best practices that you can use in your maintenance procedures to try and avoid this. The first is to cap all hose ends once they've been exposed to the environment. You should also make sure that at any cleaning process you're using clean, lint-free rags and cloths. You should also make sure that any new parts that you're looking at replacing as part of a maintenance procedure are left in the box and sealed until it's actually time for them to be used. Also, obviously, make sure that the environment around which you're performing the maintenance is clean and that all surfaces are clean. So, hopefully, if you're aware of these sources of potential sources for contamination of your hydraulic fluid, you can do a better job of trying to keep that fluid clean and your own operations running more smoothly. That's the hope of this video at any rate. Thank you very much for your time. I'm Scott Van Wagner for Seaway Fluid Power. Have a great day.